Crackers. All right, so I found myself walking in the woods one night on a camping trip that I wasn't even supposed to be on to begin with. I had taken my son camping as part of his scout merit badge earning thing. He was obsessed. My son was obsessed with earning merit badges because in the neighborhood he lived in a scout intensive. He lived in a scout intensive neighborhood, and his whole goal in life was to earn more merit badges than any of our neighbors. So I naturally got dragged into this, and I found myself. We were camping in Pennsylvania, and already I was pissed off about how much it cost to fly over there. What the Transylvania airport looked like. How they didn't hardly sell any chocolate candies of any kind. Like if you fly into Transylvania and you can't find a candy bar, you think to yourself, hey, I'm in Eastern Europe. Shouldn't there be chocolate everywhere? But there's not in Transylvania. I mean, I'm not getting hung up on that. Anyway, we're out camping in Transylvania, and it's cold. I got to tell you, it's cold. It's not just morning cold. If you've ever been camping, you know what morning cold is. When you get out of the tent in the morning because you have to use the restroom, and suddenly your world changes. Like you were in the sleeping bag before, and everything was wonderful, and you were cocooned, and you were warm, and it was like being in the womb again. But then, when you have to go outside to use the restroom, you realize that there's odd sounds, and there's a mist and a dew. Everything is wet for some reason, like nature just peed on everything, and most of all, it's cold. And it doesn't matter what time of the year you go, it's always, mornings somehow, especially in Transylvania, are always cold. They're always, like, incredibly frosty cold. And of course, you're barefoot. You're barefoot when you walk out of your tent, and it's cold, and you're stepping around, and you're trying to find, and you're in nature, so you can, if you're a guy, you can go anywhere you want. And you're peeing, you're watching the steam rise, and but you're automatically woken up into the world. And I knew right off the bat when I got up that morning in Transylvania that it was going to be a crappy day. First of all, when we had breakfast, all we had for breakfast was the leftovers of the s'mores the night before. And the only thing left over was graham crackers. The graham crackers had been crushed into like what they would use for pies. It wasn't intentional. Like nobody had been put in charge of maintaining the structural integrity of the graham crackers in the scout group, which is funny because that was one of the badges. But somebody dropped the ball, and so we had just mushed up graham cracker dust for breakfast. So after that, we set about doing basically the tasks we had to do for the day to earn the badges, and one of them was a reconnaissance badge, where one of the parents, and there were three of us, the chaperones, on this trip, were to go into the woods to a given landmark, and then our respective kids were given a compass and a map and had to find us. Now my kid, Dwayne, was dyslexic. And not only dyslexic reading words off a page, but he was dyslexic with directions. So west was east for him, north was south for him. I often would find him sleeping the opposite way in his bed back at home, like the foot of the bed would be his head, and his feet would be up, and then he would, at night he'd go back to bed, but he'd be sleeping, and his head would start out where his feet had been, which, come on. So, he couldn't shake this habit. It's all right, because he had all kinds of different weird habits and stuff. Like, he would eat vanilla ice cream and use Frito corn chips, and dip them in the ice cream, like Rocky Road ice cream and different kinds of flavored ice cream, and he used the Frito corn chips as like dip, like he would use the ice cream as dip. I don't know where he got that. Like his mother and myself, nobody does that. Nobody does that in our family. It's not passed on. I don't have a brother. He doesn't have an uncle or anything that does that. But he somehow took a license to corn chips. Anyway, I'm not going to get hung up on that. So I set off for my landmark, and I go to my landmark, and my landmark is this huge boulder by the side of a river. And the river's going very fast. It's one of these raging rapid, like class 4, whatever it is, river rafting. There's some kind of classification. I don't know what it is. I didn't have to get any badges. And my only job for the day at all was to go to this spot and wait for my son, Dwayne, to find me. And he would earn his badge. And I would just hope that he found me first, that Dwayne would find his way through the wilderness And I waited. I waited, and I waited, and night came. And we got quite late, and no late. And about the middle of the night, I started to get concerned, and I thought to myself, wouldn't it be as good if I brought some sort of cell phone or GPS system? And here's the deal. I didn't want to leave. Like, I didn't want to leave my spot by the boulder, because I knew, like, he would arrive. Like, if I would walk back to camp somehow, and I tell the truth, I didn't know where camp was any longer. It got dark. And if you've ever been to the forest at night, there's all kinds of weird noises happening. It gets spooky. Like, it's ghost town. I mean, it's horribly, horribly frightening. Like, this stuff starts making noises. Trees make ungodly noises that they shouldn't even make in nature. You know, like, just it's like you're calling my name, little things, little hoot owls and shit just come out of nowhere, like, everything says my name, and I don't know anybody in the woods, I don't know any of the creatures, I don't know the trees, I don't know anything. And I've seen enough movies to know that some stuff can come to life. And I'm in Pennsylvania, which has a whole lore to its own, and I figure like some tree's going to come alive and pick me up and like, we are tree people. We don't like being burned. Come free. They scare me like hobbits talking to a castle with big eyes. I won't get hung up on that. Anyway, I wait until the morning. Maybe that morning cold. It gets to be that morning cold, like early in the morning. And I waited the whole night. At some part, I passed out. Like I just left there next to the boulder, huddled up, my little self, like waiting for a bear to eat me or something. And I didn't leave because I was dedicated to Dwayne's merit badge. I'm dedicated to it because I'm like, hey, you know what? If I leave, he will show up right after that. The poor kid, he probably worked at it all day long. He probably was navigating. He probably had a hard time, and I wanted to help him. I wanted to help him out. I couldn't be there with him when he was trying to read the map upside down and backwards and reading the compass that he didn't understand. And I found out later some kid had put a magnet in his pocket, which fucked him up. So he kept walking in circles. I found out later. Here's what Dwayne's day had gone like. Dwayne had done this for 20 hours solid. Until he stopped and fell on the ground, dizzy, and passed out. I, on the other hand, found myself waking up, freezing my ass off by a raging river and lost in the woods. I couldn't find my way back. And this went on for probably another week. Because I kept thinking, you know what, I should just venture off into the woods and I'm going to get lost. But somebody in the scout troop knows that I'm at this boulder. And so I just lived there at that boulder for a week. Seriously, I lived on lint in my pocket. And I would scoop fish out of the river and eat them raw. Just sushi style. Just, And my hands would get cold. And I just got cold and but I lost 3 toes. And I finally got back to camp a week later, and I found out, what Dwayne's story was, and I was just pissed. Nobody called a helicopter, and he never got the merit badge. He never got that merit badge. And as we were getting on the plane to go back, to fly back home, the other guy who was a scout leader, of the 3 chaperones, he handed me a candy bar, and he said, "I brought this from home. It's all for you." I said, "Fuck you. You should have been there. Stop getting that boulder."